Hi guys, welcome to Beyond the 90. I'm James. Neil's not with us this afternoon. Neil's currently in Norwich, probably crying or celebrating, who knows. I've got Alex with us as usual. Alex, you're right.
Uh, Relatively, yeah. I'll take the 3 points.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think yes, we beat Norwich 2-1. Was a difficult game. Um, let's get started. It's going to be a difficult post match to do because although we won, I feel really deflated. Um, all three games this season, we've not played well. Players have gone missing in every game. We just don't seem to be gelling that well at the minute. So let's get started anyway. So let's start off with team selection. I was a bit concerned at the team selection. I thought Samori might come in, Daka might come in, just to give him that bit of pace against Norwich. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I was quite surprised to say the least when I saw the lineup. It just seemed like it was a copy and paste. You know, you replace that one player that might be injured, and you just put another player in that has the same type qualities. So when I saw the lineup, partially wasn't really surprised, but at the same time, I was quite surprised in the same way because, like you said, Samare, Daka, these guys could have had the opportunity to get it slot into this match, and neither of them actually ended up getting even into the game. So. Definitely shocking. That's one of my concerns that I've seemingly had, especially this season. And I know it's only 3 games, but the selection that we've brought forth in the last 3 games has been very simplistically a copy and paste.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's one of them things that you expect it to go well, but they just don't seem to be playing well together this season. I think for me, Soyuncu has been dreadful all 3 games so far. Today it highlighted it again. I think Brendan Rodgers said in the press conference that he needs somebody there talking to him constantly. He didn't have that in Turkey, and look how bad their defence was, and he seems to have brought that back with him. Yes, we've got lots of injuries at the back, but I just feel he's not helping himself. He just doesn't do the basics right.
No, and that's my biggest concern with Siensu. He's had class moments, but ultimately when he is not there without Evans, he's seemingly lost, and that's my biggest concern with him. And I know our back line is just riddled with injuries, but my biggest concern is that even with Soyuncu being healthy, I look at our back line in a sense of like we have nobody because Soyuncu is more of how do I put it? He's more of a he causes more problems than being successful. So when I really ultimately look at it, I don't see us having any realistic solid center backs right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. Welcome, Tom. You're right.
Yeah, hi James, hi guys, how's it going? I'm good. I'm glad we got 3 points.
We're just saying it's been. Although we've won, we both feel really deflated.
I know exactly what you mean. I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't a great performance by a long stretch. Yeah, I know Alex was just sort of touching on the defender situation there. I think when Ricardo went off, and with Bertrand still not on the bench, that's six defenders out. Our whole back line plus 2 of our main backups. It's like, any team would struggle a bit with that. I think if like Liverpool, for example, if you took out Trent, Robertson, Van Dijk, Matip plus 2 of their backups, they're going to find life hard. But aside from that, I think the performance, was a bit concerning. And we can consider ourselves very lucky that we've come out of that with 3 points, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think yes, most of our back line's not first choice. We know that. The thing that disappoints me is yes, the back line's bad, but the strikers don't. You'd expect our strike force and our midfield to absolutely annihilate Norwich the way they've been playing last season. They just don't seem. Tillemans doesn't seem to be gelling well. Madison for me has had 2 poor games. He went missing against West Ham, and today he had 3 chances that you'd expect him to score, and he was just miles wide. And David says ugly 3 points, but much needed 3 points. Yeah, we've just been saying that. Barnes will find form with some time and the goals will come. Hopefully the injury situation gets better. We saw Ricardo went off, looked like he'd got his hamstring strapped up. So hope that's not a bad one. But the way our injuries are going, who knows?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do we know how he did it? Did he do it in the celebration? I saw someone suggest that because it was when the goal happened, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
do we know how that happened?
Yeah. So from my point of view, it looked like, and Alex will probably, obviously been watching in Canada, will probably tell us more. It looked like he overstretched when he crossed the ball to Vardy.
Yeah. So when I just watched it, I kind of replayed it a few times because, like, I think all of us were in the same, and through the group chats that I was in, everyone was kind of talking about the same thing. Like, what did he do? Like, where did this come from? After analyzing it, like replaying it about 4 or 5 times, James said it perfectly. It looked like he just overstepped.
Okay.
Still made a brilliant cross, but those are the situations that you're worried about. Like, we're hoping that it's nothing too major, because if he's out, long term, our back line is there's serious problems moving forward if that's the case.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, talking about the first half, yes, we had some chances. Yes, Ricardo whipped the ball in. Great goal again by Vardy. He seems to be really sharp this season. Been really impressed with the way he's been playing so far. Highlights of the first half for you, Tom?
Well, yeah, obviously that goal is kind of like a carbon copy of the goal in the Wolves game, wasn't it? Ricardo basically creating something from nothing and putting in a perfect ball onto, with Vardy still having to put a good finish into the back of the net. But obviously it was a promising start. And then, yeah, sort of as it went on, Norwich kind of came back into the game a bit more. Obviously, Soyuncu giving away that penalty at the very end of the half, sort of, if we had gone into halftime 1-0, I feel like we could have built on that. And actually, when we took the lead early, I thought looks like it could be the kind of performance where we start to kind of, dominate and really start to show kind of our more kind of creative football. But yeah, they came back into the game, and I think like Barnes was really trying, right, all game, but it just wasn't happening for him. And that's a problem for us, because if, like I touched on last week, if him and Maddison aren't on point in that system, then we kind of lack ideas.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think in the first half, Vardy went on that run, and Barnes was to the left of him, and it looked like an easy pass. But it's probably one of the things. Barnes looked really low in confidence today for some reason. But you do expect more from Barnes and Maddison. Totally agree with that. It's just one of them games that you think, oh, another one we need to write off. On the other side, I thought Brighton played well. I thought he did okay. Goal deflection in the second half, but I think it probably was going in anyway. But I think probably we need to concentrate on the back again, Alex. What do you think's missing at the back?
Players. Honestly, I don't know. Johnny Evans is missing, and I know he's a player, and I know that is such a cop-out answer. But when Johnny Evans is in the lineup, that back line is solid, and when Johnny Evans is not in the lineup, that back line is a disaster. Soyuncu is a disaster. And I said this in mid-game, but I was almost at the point where you take Soyuncu out, you put Ndidi, in his place, and you bring Sumare into the midfield, because you're running into this situation now where your only healthy center back is becoming a liability, and I think that's a huge concern. And I think a lot of people were discussing, you can give when Thomas makes a mistake, you go, well, Thomas is young. He's our third option usually in the left back role. So if he makes a mistake, it's understandable. Soyuncu technically is our second best center back, and he is playing in a way that, I wouldn't trust him on like the under 18 team that plays, on Sundays here in Canada. I wouldn't trust it right now. So ultimately there's a little concern with that. When it comes to the back line, I think primarily we need our players fit, but in order to do so, we need to be patient. Johnny Evans is dealing with an injury that seemingly, it feels as though, it's a day in and day out type of injury where he could be playing perfectly fine, in practice for like 3 days, and then all of a sudden, he takes a step or he does something and he's back out again. And then you have Vestergaard, who I think you just need to be patient with, and once he's back to full, fitness, then we'll be in a different situation. And I don't want to say this, but I really do think that if we have Johnny Evans and we have Yannick Vestergaard back fully fit, I think Ciunci could be the odd man out.
Liam brings up a good point. We're missing leadership. We're missing someone who can keep everyone's heads up. Tom, what do you think to that? It does seem like we're missing leaders throughout that defence and midfield at the minute.
Yeah, I'd say especially in defence, and I think like Alex is saying, I guess Vestergaard and Evans really bring that to the back line, don't they? Like Evans, we've always seen that Fofana and Ciunci have been kind of felt a bit more secure when they're next to him. I think I am coming into this a bit more positive. Like looking at the table, we have got 6 points from 9, and you know, we got an away win with a team that is a bit, you know, we are a bit kind of thin at the moment. So I am kind of a bit, you know, I'm coming out of that feeling pretty good. I you know, Evans and Vestergaard and Bertrand, as far as we know, are imminently going to return. So that should kind of alleviate some of these problems. I do think, and I'm interested to get your guys' take on this, because I did touch on it last week, and I say it a lot, and I see that there's some stuff in the comments about it too. But this 2 up front thing that we've got, this issue that we've got going on, and the last 2 games, in the second half when we scored goals is when we brought a second player up front, and with Maddison, like we say, not really showing great form. He hasn't really produced anything in the first 3 games. And Barnes, I think he's maybe still coming back into it confidence-wise and kind of sharpness-wise after that injury. Do we think that it's time to kind of unleash 2 strikers and change things up and try and cause teams a bit more problems?
I'll let you answer that first, Alex.
I think it's time to give it a shot. Personally, I think Maddison has really virtually done nothing in the past 3 games that have warranted him starting a game and starting next, you know, in the next match. I really do believe that. He's been invisible. So I would take Maddison out, but I definitely would start 2 strikers. You know, when you have the likes of both Nacho and Daka sitting on the bench, you know, those are 2 quality strikers. And Nacho, who led the team in goals last season, is just sitting on the bench, and that's really frustrating to see, because you know that he can be absolute quality. So I'm at the point where, you know, if what's not working isn't working, you know, let's go to something that does, and we know that it has worked in the past, because last season when Vardy and Nacho played together, the amount of success that brought was clear as day. Whereas, you know, we've seemed to really been struggling with just the one striker up front with just Vardy.
Yeah, I think you're right with that. I think one thing that I've been disappointed with is we saw Daka come in. We saw his goal scoring record over the last 2 seasons. Seems like a goal machine. Even in pre-season, he looked really good and sharp. But he's just not getting that chance. And I think, like you say, if you could drop Maddison and play a front 2, Vardy and Nacho start, and then bring Daka on 60 minutes and get him to run at them, because once you've got Vardy running at you for 60 minutes and you bring someone in that's quicker, defenses are going to hate that. And I think, like you both say, I think that's the way forward. Aaron Jones brings up a good comment. How do you play it though? 4-4-2 doesn't really work. Do you go to a back 3 with 2 wing backs?
Do you know what? I actually think that my only concern with Vestergaard and Evans as a partnership is the lack of pace between them. And so I think when they come back in the team, I don't think it's a bad idea to go 3 at the back. We'll have a bit, you know, Bertrand can play as a left-sided centre back. You know, Ciunci could keep his place and you can play the 3. I think it would make sense to do that. I know that I don't remember Rodgers ever really playing a 4-4-2. I know it's not something that he's a fan of, so I don't expect that. But once we've got the players back, I think we can do that. And it's also for Vardy's sake, you know. I feel for Vardy sometimes, because someone's put in the comments he had 13 touches today or something like that, and 18 touches, and he got a goal and an assist. But I feel for him sometimes because he's so isolated. He's never been one of those players to kind of hold the ball up, and I just think having someone up there with him kind of takes a bit of that pressure off him and allows him to kind of roam a bit freer. But yeah, and same with Daka. I think, you know, okay, he probably didn't expect to start straight away. I'm sure that was kind of made clear to him when he signed that it's going to take a while. But that's 2 games out of 3 now where he hasn't even got off the bench. And we're all desperate to see more of him. So, yeah, I think if we do that, even if he is on the bench, then at least it will definitely sort of bring him on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think second half I was expecting a lot better than what happened. But one thing for me is I thought Albrighton came in today. Perez obviously 3-match ban. Saw the commentator saw at the end of the game that he wanted played if Perez was fit, but he comes in, he does that job, scored a goal, and he always does that for me. I think probably he's earned his place above Perez. I'm not sure what Perez brings on that side anymore. I think he's better in that number 10 role, to be perfectly honest. But I think we do need someone there, and I think Albrighton's filling that gap at the minute. I know we want a right winger, but we're not sure that's going to happen in this market. Alex, what are your views second half?
Lackluster to say the least. Like I said, the fact that if you look later on in the second half and Cantwell being offside, we were lucky for these 3 points. But with Albrighton, he came in, he was in this game, as a replacement for Perez, and he brought what he always brings. He's reliable. He's that he's a squad player, and he's that depth player that when he comes in, you can always rely on him. And today just showed it. Getting the game winner. I don't think anybody really had that on their scorecard. So I never have anything bad to say about Albrighton, especially because when he does deliver, it's usually exceptional. And so he saved us today.
Mm-hmm.
So very good on that point. But ultimately speaking, and I'll say it again, we're lucky to get those 3 points. I really do want to see more of Sumare and KDH because those 2 players have the drive and the motivation, and I just feel like with the depth that we have now, the players that aren't performing to the standard that they should be performing at shouldn't have should lose the option right now to start and give KDH the option. I would rather see KDH start over Madison next game, to be brutally honest.
That is brutal. Nice one. Austin, welcome. I know you're a bit late, but welcome.
Yeah, we got 3 points and we got out. That's about it. I mean, we did not play well, but we got it done. And you just got to take these 2 weeks off, and Chags has got to figure out how to defend. My word, he's been rough these last couple of weeks, and it's definitely the effect of no Evans and no Fofana.
That's not really much as you can say. So Austin, second. We're just discussing the second half. Obviously, Alex picks up on the point that it nearly was an equaliser. If Cantwell takes 2 steps forward, it's a definite equaliser. So it's a difficult one. But I think 3 points. We're happy with 3 points. But what were your views on the first and second half?
First half, the first 10 minutes were probably the best 10 minutes we played all year. We were very good. Vardy doing Vardy things. And then see it in the group chat. It's like after the first 10 minutes, we just feel like we were comfortable with the 1-0 win. Like we were just sitting back. We didn't look like we were going to score ever in that first half. And then Chags idiotically puts in a challenge, and obviously 1-1. Then it's like, oh, we might have to actually start playing now. And second half we were better. Think there were spells we looked okay. We just seemed to be missing that final third. Like being clinical in that final third. I think we were rough in that sense. But we got the job done. I mean, that's all you can kind of ask for, and definitely lucky that Cantwell was where he was, because Schmeichel was nowhere near going to save that, and that we got bailed out a lot with that.
Yeah, I think you're right, Austin. So going forward, Tom, next game, Man City. What changes do you make? Because obviously the first 3 games we haven't played well. Man City, I believe, have won the first 3 games 5-0. So what can we do? Do we drop Madison? Do we play with 2 up front, or do you think he'll just stick with what we've got and try and hold out?
Well, I kind of think back to that 5-2 win last season. Obviously, I'm not expecting that to happen again, but I'm pretty sure the system that we played for that was this 4-2-3-1 that we're going with at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks with it, but I would expect, probably Bertrand, Vestergaard, and Evans to all come in if they're fit. And then I think there's a question mark around what you do with the others. I think there are players knocking on the door to come into that team. I was really impressed with KDH when he came in today, actually. And do you know what he really brought was like energy, lots of energy. And I feel like we were a bit flat, and I think that he made a difference. And fair play to Rodgers for bringing him on, because I think that was a good call at that time. But yeah, I mean, Man City's Man City, right? I mean, we're going to go into that. Anything's a bonus, and sometimes it suits us playing against these kind of teams, because we can kind of go back to the old school, sit back and use Vardy or Daka or whatever our options are on the counter attack and try and hit them that way. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys will watch the Man City Arsenal game today, but yeah, they're looking good. They're looking good. So I'm not expecting much from that game, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tom. I think at one point Man City had 97% possession
in the second half. Yeah, in the second
it
half.
was a very one-sided game. I don't think Arteta will last long at Arsenal now. And as soon as he goes, all the Rodgers to Arsenal stuff will re-emerge from everywhere. So, and obviously after the Man City game, we've got obviously Napoli. First European game. We need to be good for that game. So will you play a different team against Man City to prepare for that Napoli match? What do you think, Alex?
It's going to be tough, because I think ultimately you're going to see who we have who's fully fit, and I think that's really going to determine, the lineups that Rodgers brings out. I definitely think that you might see a few changes against Man City, and I won't be shocked to see, the likes of Daka and Soumare starting against Napoli. I wouldn't be shocked by that. We bring these players in for a reason. I don't think we're going to see, Vardy. We're not going to see Vardy play every game. We might see Nacho in here and there, but definitely when we play against Man City, I think there has to be some changes in this lineup. We shouldn't. When we're facing clubs like Norwich, there shouldn't be any doubt in our minds. If we're looking to compete with the top clubs in the league, when we're facing these, clubs like Norwich, there shouldn't be any, doubt in our minds that we could lose a game. And the fact that we had to, drag this match into the final minutes to secure 3 points is just unacceptable. So there's a lot of concern going in against Man City. And, as Tom said, we tend to somehow play better against these top clubs. But, Man City just looks like a completely different giant in their last 3 games. And that's something that will be very interesting to see once, we see which players are fully fit for that match. But I definitely think there needs to be either, some squad changes or, some real big changes, as in a wake-up call, being like, just because, you started X, Y, and Z, and you're deemed one of our best players, you haven't been playing like one of our best players. So, you're going to lose that option to start. And, we have the depth that we can do that. And I think if Rodgers, I think Rodgers needs to do that, to really force that on a lot of these players that, expect that they're going to start, where ultimately they should be shown the fact that they can easily lose that.
Yeah, Glenn brings up a point. What do you mean by fully fit? Because I've seen this term branded around a bit lately. So, for instance, when Ricardo came back, he was fully fit to come back, but mentally it took him a few months to get back in the game. So I think that's probably what you're referring to, weren't you, Alex?
Yeah, that, or they're just wrapped up in duct tape.
That's always a way forward as well.
Yeah, no, honestly, fully fit is just at this rate, I don't know if we have any player that's fully fit. I'll be brutally honest with that. I don't think Vardy's fully fit. There's a lot of players that are not fully fit right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think going forward, Austin, obviously next Tuesday is deadline day. Do you think we'll have any incomings coming in or any outgoings?
I think we're not going to have incomings without the outgoings. Think that's definitely going to happen. We're, in my opinion, Pratt's going to go. He didn't come in today. He's leaving. There's no doubt about that. Does Chowdhury leave with Newcastle moving I think it was Longstaff. He got moved, so they might going for Hamza. Do we get a right winger is the question, and I'm leaning towards no. I just don't see it coming. One, because of price. Two, because we might as well just not bring in a right winger. Because it seems like if we're going to bring in one, he's going to be terrible anyway. So why waste $30 million to bring in a right winger who might not be good? And I was saying it one day. It was like we're at our like 6th choice right winger now. You feel worse and worse about the farther you go down the list. Is Nair's a great player? Yes, but he's not your first choice right winger you want in. Daka was first choice. Samari was first choice. Bertram was first choice. So you just don't feel good when you're down to your 5th, 6th one.
So, what do you think about the right wing position? Because as Austin said, we are going through the list now of people we've tried to bring in and not bought in. Do you think there's someone in the squad that can do a job, or do we desperately need that right wing spot filled?
I think it depends, right? If we end up verging more towards a 3-5-2 formation, then we might be able to get away with just playing with the wing backs, and then we don't necessarily need it. If we don't end up getting one, then I feel like it's an extra reason to pivot towards that formation. But obviously we've all wanted one. We all know that we need one. At this point, the only way I can see it happening is maybe another loan, and it is a bit like you're constantly just sticking the plaster over this problem that's been going on for seasons and seasons. And I know that Under was the exact same thing last year, but at least doing it that way, we can take a look at someone, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. We're not risking laying out some big money for a winger that might not end up working. But I think when. Do you think Daniel James is a possibility now that Ronaldo's gone to United? Do they need him? I think in my head, maybe that seems like the most logical that could happen. But yeah, in terms of going out, we definitely need to get rid of a couple of centre midfielders. Like we've got 7. Whether it's, as you said, I'm sure Pratt will be one. Whether Chowdhury and Mendy is the other one, I'm not sure. But we need to cut it down to 5 really, because 7 is too much.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Brooklyn G comes up with a good point. Obviously, Damari Gray's been scoring goals every game he plays in.
That's ironic, I know.
Yeah, and it generally always happens to us that a player goes somewhere else and finds their form. I think you're all right. And for me, I think Dan James is the one that's coming in on loan with an option to buy at the end of the season. I think he'll do a good job for us. I think he's one of the players that Brendan could develop going forward. He not really had the chances at United, and I think he will be developed here and become a better player. So I think if anyone, like you say, Tom, it might be him. For me, at the start of the season, I thought we would be top 4, but seeing this transfer window, the big 4 have just annihilated. Financial fair play seems to have gone out the window, and they're just annihilating everyone.
Yeah.
It is a bit discouraging, right? And sorry to go again, but I was saying this to a United friend actually today, having a bit of a poke at him. But like, it is a bit discouraging for a team like us who have been in the top 4 from the whole season, the last 2 seasons, other than the last week, really knocking on the door, doing things the right way. And it felt like we made investing well this summer. It felt like we were getting closer, when actually we're further away now than we have been in a while. And it is a bit discouraging to kind of see them pull away from the rest of the league like that,
Yeah. And, if you told me at the start of the season that, Man United would be bringing in Ronaldo for less than £30 million, I wouldn't believe you. Or Chelsea bringing in Lukaku, and Man City picking up Grealish. Really, realistically, you can just name these players that are just going to these clubs, and I just don't know how we can really fight for a top 4 finish right now. It seems like it's just not going to happen. And, stranger things have happened, but, I think we need to look at what our squad is. And I definitely think that we can still contend for, a Europa League spot. But with the amount of injuries that our team has collected, it's, that ultimately has been such a dagger, because, you're looking at who we have, and, if we do lose another center back, God forbid, we're looking at Benkovic being our next choice, which is absolutely terrible, and that's not who I even want to, consider. So ultimately speaking, it's unfortunate. And just going back to our winger situation, I've said it a few times beforehand, but I do think that Dan James is going to be the one that does come in as well. Especially with Ronaldo going to Man United, James is not going to get into that lineup, ever. So if he wants that first team action, he's Leicester City would slot him in that lineup, hands down every single week. So I would be shocked if that doesn't happen.
Yeah, totally agree with the comments. I think we're going to end on a high. Obviously, we're 8th, as Tom said, 6 points out of 9. Would you have took that at the start of the season? You probably would. West Ham being our bogey team. So I know we've not been playing well, but we're still grinding out results, and I think that's probably the main thing. Probably the one thing we do need to do is grind out results. So going into the international break, good chance for everyone to get a rest, to come back after the international break, firing on all cylinders with a bit of luck. It's been great having you on, guys. Thanks very much. If everyone could like and subscribe to us as usual, that'd be great. And we'll talk to you all later. Thanks, guys.